Hey y'all, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are when you see this video. Thank you so much for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. It is October 27th, 2025. I'm going to be talking about this concerning issue, the economy, and what's going on. This has been on my heart. This has been on my mind for quite a few weeks. I just hadn't gotten around to figuring out how to get this video put together. But it's very important. We're seeing that we're on the edge of collapse of this economic system. And I feel like I'm going to just share with you some things I've been seeing on videos, my concerns. And so we're going to start with the issue with SNAP, because when people don't have food to eat, they become very desperate people. You don't have food in your belly, it's very painful, and you become desperate. And it can be dangerous, and it can be horrible. And, nobody wants to see anybody who is starving or can't get any food. And so I'm just going to read you this portion on SNAP. Okay, so SNAP benefits are set to stop beginning November 1st, 2025, due to the ongoing U.S. government shutdown. So this is terrible. I mean, it's bad at all to have this, at any time, to have this happen. But it's even worse right before the holidays. Right before the holidays, people will be scrambling for food. Horrible. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, has stated that there will be no benefits issued on November 1st, declaring bottom line, the well has run dry. Really? Do you think maybe we wouldn't be running dry if our government's priority was actually the American people? It was actually taking care of them and not giving billions of dollars to foreign countries and getting ourselves into needless wars? I think so. I think it would be different. It wouldn't be running dry. This affects approximately 42 million Americans who rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program for food assistance. And mind you, that counts a lot of children as well. Lord have mercy. Multiple states, including Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, and Michigan, have confirmed they will suspend or delay November SNAP payments due to the lack of federal funding. At least 25 states are expected to halt or delay benefits, with officials advising recipients to use remaining EBT funds, seek help from food banks, and prepare for potential gaps in assistance. The USDA has decided not to use the $5 to $7 billion in contingency funds allocated for emergencies, arguing the shutdown does not qualify as a true emergency like a natural disaster. I can't say I agree with that. Can you? I mean, really, taking away people's ability to eat, work, what do they expect people to do? However, critics, including Democratic lawmakers and policy experts, argue that the funds should be used to prevent widespread food insecurity and have accused the administration of using the crisis for political leverage. Some states are exploring the use of their own funds to cover the shortfall, but many, like Massachusetts, lack the resources, and the federal government has warned it will not reimburse state expenditures. That's terrible. The shutdown, which began on October 1st, 2025, is now the second longest in U.S. history. Horrible. Horrible, horrible. So I'm going to go and show you a few videos on this issue that I found very important. So I'm going to go to the first one here. So this is the cost of living crisis, and I'm just going to show you a few of these people's thoughts on this. Let's see.
Turned 18. That detail is relevant to my frustration right now because I just want to stress to you that for my entire adult life, I've lived independently and I've been responsible for the grocery shopping for a household, for me and another person, minimum. My whole adult life. I have never, ever seen groceries as expensive as they've been all year, but in particular, just the last 2 weeks. The way that costs have just shot up on everything across the board. And we're talking, I went to the grocery store today fully expecting to need to budget shop. In my 16 years of adulthood, I've had periods of time where I don't have a lot of money, and then I have periods of time where I have money. And so grocery shopping can look like, we're eating a lot of bean burritos this week, or, hey, let's cook something really elaborate. I went into the grocery store today knowing that my budget was bean burrito budget. And even with my bean burrito budget, knowing that I was not going to get the fancy food, knowing that I just the food that I need to eat and survive and get through the next week. And I didn't buy any meat. I didn't buy any protein at all, except for some deli meat. I bought some turkey. But I went into the grocery store knowing that I was pulling stuff out of the freezer and I wasn't going to buy any meat or proteins this week. I got my total from the grocery store clerk, and I almost wanted to cry. I didn't buy a lot of food, okay? And I didn't buy any meat. Frozen pizzas right now where I am are $10 a pop. And not those aren't the fancy frozen pizzas. We're talking the regular ass frozen pizzas. The Tombstone, the cheap frozen pizza that, in my opinion, should be $2.99 max, was $8.99. That's $9. With taxes, that's $10 fucking dollars. And I just feel really bad for young people, and I feel the need to affirm for young people that are working bullshit jobs and getting paid bullshit per hour and still having to buy the same groceries that I'm having to buy.
Sorry for the language.
This is not normal. And when I was your age and when I was making shit money and not, the groceries were significantly cheaper. I used to buy chicken for $2 a pound. And that really wasn't all that long ago. That was 6 years ago. That I know for a fact the Smiths around the corner from my house would oh my God. Oh my God. When the frozen pizza is in the double digits, fam, we're cooked. We are deep fried, golden brown, and fucking crispy.
Okay, I apologize for the language. There is a few of these videos that have some language in it, but you get the idea. She's not doing well with the food issue. I'm going to go to the next one.
Okay, seriously, WTF. I need somebody to make this make sense to me. So I made a video a month ago about our electric bill was $830. It made me sick to my stomach. Now, listen, our bills have been high for 15 years, anywhere between $400 and $700. We've had the electric company come out. They tell us there's no problem. There's nothing from the pole to our house. It must be something in the house. So we have replaced everything, all the appliances, new hot water tank, new dishwasher, new washer dryer, the whole bit, right? So I made a video this morning showing you guys our electric bill for the past year. it wasn't until I watched that I realized our new bill is on there. You guys, I am so sick. What a way to ruin my Monday and the whole freaking week now. So our bill was $830 last month. It's $1,253 this month. Tell me how. After we opened that bill last month for $830, we went through the house. Now we had 2 adult men that lived in the house, our sons, both move out. So nothing is running in their bedrooms. Everybody says unplug everything that you're not using. Okay, so we have unplugged everything. Literally unplugged everything in the entire house that could be drawn power that we're not using. Like our everyday appliances, refrigerator, washer, dryer, stove, microwave, lamps. They're not on, but they're plugged in. So we don't watch TV. Our televisions are never on. We don't have a pool. We don't have central AC. I just don't know. I don't understand how this is possible. It went up $420 after unplugging everything. Somebody make this make sense to me. So I so badly want to do this Christmas open house and invite everybody in and see that magic for the kids and see the smiles. And there's literally no way. I cannot afford $1,253 without Christmas lights. So I don't know what we're going to do. Like, after taxes and insurance is taken out of my bill or on my check, that's like literally one of my paychecks. So one whole check for the month is going to go towards our electric bill. Like, I am sick to my stomach. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that is horrific. So I'm going to go to the next one.
My salary. My salary bi-weekly is basically my rent minus
She's a teacher.
$500. Guess how much my car is? $400. Guess how much insurance is? $100. Oh, yeah, that's right. You do the math. I'm left with owing money at the end of the month. That's not even with groceries. Holy That's not even with groceries. I realize every single month I am transferring money out of savings into my checking, and I am not. Just had the realization in the car that I'm actually going to go into debt if I continue being a teacher. Like, genuinely. Wow. Oh, I'm like literally having a crisis right now. I'm going to have a panic attack right now. I can't do this. I literally cannot do this. Knowing every single month that most of my money is literally, like, I don't have money. Okay. I don't know how I'm going to pay off my credit card this month. I don't know. All right, well, rats, peace and blessings, and I hope you can afford your rent today. And groceries, and your car, and insurance, and life.
Oh, these poor kids. These poor kids. I mean, they're trying to make it out on their own. They get their jobs, and they're like, this is what life is supposed to be like. This is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, is struggling like this. Let's see. There's something else. Okay, so beware of the next one I show you. This gal is very upset. She uses the F word a lot, like every other word, but I have to share it because it's very important what she's saying. Okay? Very important.
So, I don't normally ever come on here and post anything except of my dog because he's absolutely gorgeous. But, I am extremely frustrated being a full-time employed person living in Florida and not being able to afford to live. I have spent my whole fucking day off trying to find a, more affordable place to live because I can't afford fucking $1,300 a month in rent and then fucking a $650 car note and then $300 in fucking insurance and then you got utilities and it's just it's either I eat or I pay my bills, and then even then it's like, okay, well, which bill is gonna be fucking late this month? And I'm so fucking sick of it. Like, all these fucking apartment complexes and realtors and even private renters, fuck you. Fuck you so fucking hard. And I mean that with everything in me. Fuck you. I, nor anybody else, should be working 60 plus hours a fucking week and not be able to fucking live. I'm about to crash the fuck out. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me losing my fucking mind. I don't know.
60 hours a week. I mean, I can see, she's upset, obviously. Sorry for the language again, but the frustration. Just sad. Just sad. Let me go to the next one. This is having to do with healthcare. It's a short one.
Isn't it fun when you live in America and you turn 26 and you get kicked off your family's health insurance plan, and so then you get your own because it's the law, and then it's going to cost you an extra $400+ a month just to be alive, and then you still have to pay when you go to the doctor, you still have to pay for medication even though you're paying $450 a month. Isn't that fun? If you live in another country, how is it there?
This is what.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the whole healthcare plan, when I was trying to find a healthcare plan a couple of years ago, I thought it was, I'll come back out here for just a minute. When I was trying to do a healthcare plan a couple of years ago, I was reading over these plans, and they all seemed like scams. You had the premium, you had the deductible, you had the copay, it was like you were paying 3 different things. So for me, it felt like a scam. It really did. And it still does. It really does to a certain extent. I don't think it's a good program. I don't think it's really that affordable. I did find one that was somewhat affordable, but I through United Healthcare of all things. But I think that was due to the ACA, because I had like a tax relief on those tax benefits. Okay, back to this. Going to show the last one that really affected me, and that's here.
People just can't afford food up front.
Here's the real question. If millions of families are going into debt just to eat, what does that say about the true health of the U.S. economy? A new survey shows that about a quarter of Americans are using buy now, pay later apps like Klarna, Affirm, and Afterpay just to buy groceries. We are not talking about sneakers and vacations. We're talking about milk, eggs, and pasta on a payment plan. And that number is climbing fast, which means more and more people literally can't afford food up front anymore. Let's be honest. Wall Street might look fine, but Main Street is starving. Call me crazy, but I would love to live in a society where moms don't have to worry about feeding their children, where dads don't have to work 10 jobs to make sure that Eggos can go in the toaster in the morning. That would be my ideal society, but I know I'm a little crazy.
Yep, great points. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely outrageous. Okay, next one I'm going to go to is this one. This is for older people, so I'm in that group. That's why it's important for me to share this.
I knew it was coming. Saw the writing on the wall for months. After 24 years with the same company where I spent my entire adult life, my position's being eliminated and I'm being laid off. I know it's not personal, it's business, but it's still personal to me. This business has been my life, my family, my growth, my identity, my security. It's even been my home. I know she hates giving me this message as much as I hate receiving it, so I smile to let her know it's okay. I'm okay. But am I? For the first time in my life, I am truly untethered. For the first time in my life, I get to ask, what do I want to be when I grow up? It's terrifying, but it's also kind of beautiful. I've decided to document it all, the highs, the lows, the ugly cries, and the small wins. There will be days I'll feel unstoppable and days where I'll struggle to find my purpose. I don't have all the answers, but if you're figuring it out too, come with me and we'll make over our midlife together.
Make a coffee with me while I tell you how I lost my job on July 24th. The job that I had for 14 years. Yeah, so let's make some coffee and chat about it. Make it an iced coffee. So I've got the coffee brewed here and I'm trying this. So they were doing an employee reduction apparently, and I was just lucky enough to be one of those people. So the day started like anything else, and my boss was like, hey, can I give you a call? I'm like, yeah, sure. What? Like I'm gonna fucking say no? I'm not gonna say no. So I'm like, yeah. So he calls. The minute he gets on the phone, I know. Because they don't talk to you. They read from a script. And the script basically says, don't say anything. Let us finish what we're saying. We're gonna send you an email after all of this is done. See you when I see you. Right? So, okay, fine. The funny part of it is, which I chuckled about later, it was the anniversary, like my work anniversary for 14 years. So, I mean, like, the fuck, you know? Anyway, so yeah, so I'm almost 50. I just got laid off from the job that I thought I would retire from. Interesting. Anyway, worse things could happen, right? So, what's your story about getting fired? I mean, I don't know. Do you say fired? Do you say laid off? I don't know. This has never happened to me before. I don't know. So, any advice? Hit me up. Let me know in the comments.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. I'll give you one other one here. Just this particular guy's story. There's many in here, but I'm just playing just this one. So, let's see, where was this?
I got laid off about 36 days ago. Probably 200 applications in. Out of that, probably 25 rejection letters. Signed up at Walmart for a job. Signed at the local Publix, my grocery store, for a job. No interviews, no contacts. Out of all the applications I put in, I've had 2 interviews. Been ghosted probably 15 times. Then I decided, well, you know what? I'll do DoorDash. Went to do DoorDash. Couldn't get on in the area. Your zone is full. Can't even do DoorDash. That's how bad it is. I've been aged out 36 days. This is the longest I've ever been without a job ever in my life. 23 years in the military, master's degree, bachelor's, tons of experience. Can't find anything.
I'm a recruiter.
That is horrific. Really horrific. And then there's the whole point. There's a little part I was going to show you here. Just the beginning. There's actually 15 things middle class can no longer afford, and there's a whole list of them. Affordable housing, skyrocketing vehicle costs, health care, child care, wages, rent, vacations, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to show you this first portion here on this one.
1. Unaffordable housing prices. Let's talk about the most fundamental part of the American dream, owning a home. It used to be the standard marker of middle-class success, but today, it's becoming impossible.
talk about how the housing unaffordability crisis is one of the biggest causes to the U.S. becoming less pro-family every single day. The average household income in the U.S. can no longer afford you the average home in the U.S., and that's a huge problem, but it's really hard to blame young people and young couples for putting off having kids or avoiding having kids altogether when they can hardly support themselves, let alone children. In 1991, the average first-time home buyer was 28 years old. Today, the average first-time home buyer is 38 years old. So people aren't buying homes until they're almost 40 years old. And at that point, you're almost past your childbearing years. If we want our country to be more pro-family and we want people to be encouraged to get married and have kids, then we need a better environment and conditions for that to happen. If the fundamental building block of a healthy society is the family, then we simply can't ignore how economic structures, particularly the cost of housing, influences family life. We need to build more homes. We need to build more homes with additional dwelling units so that primary homeowners can rent those spaces out, and we need to ban corporations or other institutional investors from buying residential properties. Affordable housing should be a right for everyone, but without the right systems and the right conditions, housing will just continue to be a privilege only for the wealthy.
Yep. Yeah. Again, our country, especially the government, says this a lot, okay? They continue to always say we're about family values, okay? We're about family values. And how do we help families? The vehicle costs are outrageous. I watched the video, anywhere 500 used cars, I don't know, but some brand new cars can be up to $800 a month for payments. According to that, then you have the child care crisis, preschool costs, which were outrageous. This woman had 2 children that she had because, again, there's the dual wage earner thing that they trap people in, that you have to both parents have to work. And then they have to put their kids in childcare, and she had 2 young children in preschool, so they got a 10% discount for the preschool, but it was over $3,000 a month for those kids to go so many days a week for preschool, and it was something like $37,000 a year, which is, to me, an income, somebody's job of making that amount a year. But that's what they have to pay for their child care. That is obscene. Rent is outrageous, as you know. And then the problem with rent is that, it continues to go up each time you have to renew your lease. So I'm going to go and give you some personal information on what, kind of personal stories here on what's been going on around me. So I went to business college when I was 20. I finished in a year and 5 months. It was one of those 12-week type of terms, so you got through classes pretty fast. I was there full time. And I got a degree, an administrative assistant degree. And I began working in the Denver Tech Center. And so I ended up in 93 moving into an apartment in Denver because of my job. I could do that, and I was ready to do that. And my apartment was a 1-bedroom apartment. This is in 1993. And like I said, the jobs, you could open a newspaper and there'd be columns and columns and columns, like at least 3 columns of the job, because it used to be in the classifieds. Back then, you'd open the newspaper and look at that, and you could find columns and columns of my job descriptions open for me, whether just secretarial or administrative, whatever it was, those office jobs. I had so many to look at. It was amazing. So I got into this 1-bedroom apartment, 2nd story. So it's not the ground floor, it was the 2nd story. There's 2-story apartments. And my first lease for 6 months and then the other 6 months. So my first lease for that 6 months was $385 a month for that apartment. And it wasn't a small apartment. It wasn't that small. It was a nice setup. It had a dining room, a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom and a bathroom, and the toilet and the shower was in one room, and then there was an open space for the sink, and it separated from the bathroom, the toilet and all that. The door there. I would guess it was close to nearly, it was somewhere in the 700 square foot to nearly 800. I think it was somewhere in the 700, mid 700 square foot. $385 a month for that. When I renewed my lease, it was $395. It went up at $10, and I was making $1,200 a month and then $1,300 a month. I got a raise the next year, so I had no problem because what I paid was utilities. I paid phone, electricity, but I didn't have cable, so I didn't pay cable. I didn't really need it, so I didn't have cable. But the management paid. We got free water and sewage garbage, so we didn't have to pay that. So it was a pretty good deal. And I think this was before the influx of 1 to 2 million Californians that took over Colorado in the mid-90s. So that was pretty amazing. So I was doing okay, but my job eventually was phasing out. The company I was with was merging with another company, so I decided I was going to move down to Louisiana where my parents had moved. This was in 1995. And they had moved several months before I made this decision. In any case, I got married, and once I've had children. Actually, I quit my job a few months before I had my firstborn son, and I always wanted to get married and have a kid. Have children. That was actually my goal. And I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother, so I did. My second son was diagnosed with a brain tumor at 13 months. So he was a special needs child. So I spent the next several years throughout their childhood up to like mid high school, I was at home. So whatever skills I had learned in my business college and the classes I took and all the computer things I knew were outdated by the time we ended up divorcing 4 years ago. My ex-husband and I, due to the toxic environment that we lived in, my sons and I and him, because of my ex-husband. And, my oldest son is still going to therapy. And that was difficult. And so, of course, I'm back in having to find a job. And it was hard because I had to start from scratch. Because although I can type really well and I use a computer, I type on Word and things like that, and Outlook and all that, it's not like I have the whole system down, because I learned on Word Perfect way back then. So I've taken several classes in Microsoft Suite. 3 times I've tried to take Excel, but I just can't remember. It would be one of those things I'd have to hands-on. I'd have to be practicing all the time, every day. I just never got that down. And so that's what happened with me. And, I always wonder how that's going to happen, how I'm going to do, how I'm going to survive, because I'm living in a house with, my sons and the friend that lives with us, his their friend, and then me, and it takes 3 of our incomes to pay the mortgage. And the reason that ended up that way is because we were in an apartment, then we had to move out because that apartment was really terrible, issues with smoke and cigarettes and marijuana, and it was making us sick, including our cats. So we left there, we went into a rental home, but then the lady decided to come back home to her house, and we had only been there 10 months. So then we had to move again, and we just thought, okay, we're really tired of this, we're going to buy. And we did, but it's been really difficult. So we were getting through it, and, you know, comparing other people's stories, I feel like we're pretty in good shape compared to the other people that I know of. My friend from church, now talking about the, age discrimination. You know, she was trying to get another job. She spent 2 years trying to get a job, applying. And because her other job, she was having some problems with the manager or her boss. And there was issues with driving it was around 2 hours, two hours going and 2 hours coming back. So it was a lot of driving that she has to leave like 3 in the morning, and then she doesn't come back. You know, she doesn't get home till like 6 something. So she's like, "Oh, I wanted to find something closer." Well, she only had 1 interview in those 2 years, and as soon as she went to meet the guy interviewing her, the first thing he said was, "Oh, you're older than I thought." And that's a real problem, as you see, for the older people. You know, and the pensions, there's no more pensions like there used to be. So, turned out, though, she prayed about it, and I think it was God's answer to her prayers was the boss she had, actually a new one came in, and so I feel like, you know, she said he's a good person, and I think that was her answer, that, you know, she needed to stay at that place, but at least she has her job, right? Another story is one of my coworkers where I work at the restaurant. She had 3 jobs. Now she has 6, which is outrageous, but what it is those other 3 jobs are her 3 sons. She's also divorced, was married to an abusive man, and she has younger sons, and they all have medical issues, so she has to take care of them. She has a CNA degree, and yeah, that pays her rent, just the CNA income. And then she works out at the restaurant part-time, then she works at her church part-time, and then she takes care of her kids, and it's some kind of caregiving thing that she gets, I guess, money for that. I don't know how she doesn't just, that she's not a zombie. But that she says she's on Snap, and she says, "I'm just trying to put food on the table for my kids." And now, what's she going to do when Snap is gone? I'm really worried. You know, there's a lot of people that are in need. She also is my friend from church, she is in charge of the bookstore, and she has been having this military guy come in, because, you know, we're around a lot of military bases here in the Springs, and some of them aren't working. They've been furloughed, just like the rest of the people, government people, who aren't working. There's many that aren't. And so this guy, he's really been showing interest in Orthodoxy, and so he's been getting icons and books, and he has this IOU list that she has written up for him. And he's like, "I'm so sorry, I just, you know, I'm really wanting to, into this, but, you know, he can't help it that he doesn't have any money right now." And so the last time he looked at a book, she said that she just said take it because she felt so bad for him. I mean, it's really ridiculous because the government, always hails how much they support the military, but they really aren't doing anything. And that's especially true for people in the Republican Party who always brag about how much they love the veterans. But what do they really do for them? And I've heard people say, oh, well, we just need a third party. No, we need a whole system overhaul. We need a whole different system. Because when you have the oligarchs and the powerful running everything and they don't care about their people. We are just peasants to them. They do nothing for us. I was telling my sister the other day, we should have a system like Denmark. Oh my gosh, no, not socialism. Yeah. Oh, well, you have to pay 52% taxes. Yes, and guess what? You don't stress out when you lose your job, then you lose your health insurance and your dental insurance and everything else, and you can't do anything. You feel even worse. You have no benefits, no safety nets. Here is really bad. You don't have great child care is free in many of those countries. You say free, oh, well, that's taxes. It's going to what's important. That's the problem. The taxes we do pay here don't seem to do anything for us. But the taxes that are being paid, that they pay in those European countries are actually helping their people. They are more healthy than us. They're happier than us because they actually have a support system that actually cares about families, child care, maternity leave, paternity leave for many months, some even a whole year. They have all these things for them. Childcare, health insurance. These are all what it means to live. You have to have these things to live, to have a family. This isn't some extravagance. It's part of living. And now here we are in a country that doesn't even allow you to eat. And we all know what happens because of the prophecies. And I'm going to go over that again because let's just remind ourselves what's going to be happening in America. And like I said, every country gets what they have done. And there's so much evil that's been done in this country. Of course, we're going to be paying the highest. Even though there's so many innocents in this country that had nothing to do with that. And that's the real tragedy. So let me go in and show that particular thing again. I'm just going to read it to you. So this is Elder Vasilios, and I can't pronounce his last name. He reposed in 2015. Okay. On another occasion, the Elder Vasilios remarked, America will become partial. Here we will face many hardships, though not the same as those in America. Eventually America will fade away, devoid of life, neither here nor there. Now, nowhere at all. Then Father John Kalides used to say about America, America will cease to be a superpower. First, an event will occur that will bring the nation to its knees. Following this, America will suffer a severe geological and biological disaster, marking the end of its status as a global superpower. A Russian known as Saint Aristocles had foretold that America will feed the entire world, yet in the end it will face destruction and lose its status as a global superpower. And then, as you know, the Metropolitan Neophytus in November 2023, in an interview with Panagiotis, to discuss the prophecy of the Holy Elders regarding World War III, he had said, the interview was broadcast. Okay, we've got all that. Let's go on. Let's see. Come America, the great Babylon, who prophesies it? Well, St. John, the theologian, 2,000 years ago did. Americans know this. You will pay the highest possible price by being overwhelmed and drowned by your shores caused by various modern weapons. What do the Russians call them? These bombs, Poseidon and Satan. You hear the names. That will raise waves of enormous height and hit like tsunamis on the coasts of America. Yes, remember that portion. In fact, that of the America, it is my interpretation. That's the way he sees it. He thinks it's going to be the weapons. We don't know, but that's his interpretation. It will be approximately, we don't know the year, but the mark when the great war between Russia and the Western countries will be in progress at the Straits of Bosphorus. Then the Westerners will hear that there has been a terrible geophysical phenomenon in America, that America now, said the holy elder Vasilius of whatever. Listen how beautiful he said it in few words. America will remain partial. Let us not stay in St. Paisios. We do him wrong by blaming him with all the paraphilology and false prophecy, because there is also false prophecy, and we blame St. Paisios. No, this is unfair to the saint. So many others have said the same things, and before Ios Paisios. St. Aristarchus, now that I remembered him, who lived in Odessa and Moscow, he was Russian and spent some time as a pilgrim in the Russian monastery of Mount Athos. What did he say? He said, "Oh, America." When did he say that? That's the terrible thing. The 1918. Oh, America, you will feed the whole world and you will starve. This is scary because of what I'm seeing right now. But they are still hungry, not hungry, says this guy. Well, ask the Americans. You say these things. Ask the Americans how much the price of oil, wheat has risen. You want me to tell you about a prophecy that I have written here that's cute too? Good. These are the words of Elder Vasilius of, I can't pronounce his name. He died in 2015, and he said these things before 2000. Evil will come from the West, and quickly. People of other religions will dominate. They will make monsters and marks. There will be a civil war. This is said for Greece, but there will also be a civil war in America. In political anarchy, that is, during elections, because they won't want to hand over the power, it's mainly the big cities that will be affected. On February 16, 2024, journalist and theologian Dionysius Makris took the initiative to reach out to the revered ascetic monk of Panagias, known as the Elder of Panagias. His encounter with the elder led to a compelling reportage capturing the wisdom and spiritual insights of this respected figure. This piece was later published in the renowned Stilis Orthodoxia newspaper, appearing in March 10, 2024 edition under serial number blah blah blah. The elder of Panagias told theologian Dionysius, the Russians are well aware that a radical political change in Turkey means for them a general cutoff from the Middle East, in which they have many interests. They also know that Turkey's turn toward the West and Washington will strengthen NATO's military power in its southeast. In any case, the Russians do not want to have hostile countries in the Black Sea. The reason for the declaration of war with Turkey will be the closure of the sea straits, Bosphorus. Russia will also understand that Turkey's attack on Greece and the loss of the second territory do not necessarily lead to the disorganization of NATO's southeastern wing. On the contrary, it will strengthen with the involvement of the Turkish army, and this is because the USA has made sure that 2 large military bases in Suda and Alexandroupolis that can do their jobs well without needing to support the support of the crumpled Greek army. The Americans are ruthless. They will sacrifice something smaller to achieve what they consider to be greater according to their interests. They bill anyway without the hotelier. God, my child, will speak powerfully at the time when they will believe that their plans have succeeded. Rather, it means old geophysical shocks, namely the great earthquake or the eruption of the Yellowstone volcano. The following prophecies come from elder who prefers to remain anonymous. Since 2011, this elder has been sharing his insights, offering perspectives on significant global events. Here's what he has mentioned regarding the United States of America. In 2012, the anonymous elder shared the following insight: half of America will be engulfed by the sea, with even the lands of the indigenous people disappearing beneath the waters as the San Andreas Fault ruptures. Strange occurrences described as signs and monsters will extend all the way to Canada, leaving uncertainty as to whether Canada itself will remain above water. Whatever remains will be under the gaze of King John. On October 13, 2012, he stated a great evil is being prepared on a global scale, an attempt to cause a massive earthquake. However, those behind it will fail. It's the very place where they had planned to unleash devastation will be the one to sink. A little over 6 months, which sounds like us, by the way. June 2013, the elder made the following remark: America, the drowned man is not counted, for he is already dead. Ugh, that's so chilling. Fast forward to 2020, he provides more detail on the drowning, the half of America, the partial part of America engulfed in the sea. As he says all these things again. June 2020, the elder said the fall of a great American empire will commence with the widespread rising and will ultimately be completed by a devastating earthquake along San Andreas Fault. Uprising is important here. January 2021, in America, great and terrible events will unfold, possibly igniting widespread unrest among the people. Yes, even a civil war. If such a conflict erupts, it will not remain within the traditional political framework, but will extend across racial, religious, and ideological divisions, affecting groups such as whites and blacks, Christians and Muslims, and other societal factions. The consequences will be severe, with immense losses stemming from the fury that will surge through the population. This anger, driven by political and religious and racial tensions, will culminate in devastation. Nature itself will respond with destruction emerging from the San Andreas Fault. June 2021, to prevent a conflict in the Black Sea, Crimea region between Russia and NATO forces, a civil war may erupt in America, an inevitable uprising, whether now or later. Many deeply troubling revelations will surface. Developments will unfold rapidly, with the military beginning to round up members of Congress and the government. Again, we have many military who are they're sitting there working without being paid, as well as like other government officials, supposedly essential. Well, if I were them, I'd strike and say, no, I'm not going to keep working. You know, the only way, as my friend said, we need a nationwide strike to stop this, because that's the only way this is going to stop. As you know, that we've already heard all that, but you know it ends with the thing where we go to sleep and then the next morning the banks are closed. Yeah. The global economic collapse will begin in America. The dollar will become worthless and the euro will vanish entirely. The financial breakdown will occur within an hour at midnight while the world sleeps, unaware what is unfolding. In the words given, this moment will mark the lockdown of the banks. So it really feels like we're heading that way pretty quickly, unfortunately. So I'll pray that this is lessened by God, that He has mercy on us, and we got to figure out ways to get out of anything. If you can pay off anything in your house, anything that you owe, your debts, if there's any way that you can pay at least one of those off, that would be great. I've paid my car off. I did get some inheritance from my mother after her passings, as well my sister, and I did do that, and we're trying to sell this house because we part of the inheritance is my mother's house, so we're hoping that we can there's all this paperwork that has to, with things that are being filed, and we have to wait, but at some point it would be good not to have this mortgage. Please keep us in your prayers, and I'll be praying for you all as well. At this time, it's getting more difficult. As you know, things are just ramping up. So, thanks so much for watching this long video, but I had a lot to share with you. I hope it was informative to you, and that you can relate. And please share your thoughts on this, on what you think on all of what I had talked about and what you saw in these videos. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for following my channel, for all your support. And I hope you have a blessed night. Until next time.